Hello everyone, and welcome to Recording Videos for Patreon and YouTube Setup 2. Welcome to this video today. I'm so happy that you're here, and for those of you on Patreon, this is your weekly lesson, yay! And for those of you on YouTube, this is also your weekly lesson, but just many months later. There's a link to Patreon in the YouTube description if you're watching this on YouTube later. And thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. So let's get to it. The link to the piece that we're going to be working on today for those of us on Patreon is in your post. And it's also in the YouTube description link. It's on imslp. And this is from the Old Masters for Young Players series. So today we're going to be looking at the beautiful piece called Gavotte Musette by Jean-Baptiste Lully, who lived from 1632 to 1687, and arranged by Alfred Moffat. So we're going to take a look at this in two sections, and I would recommend getting your music ready so that we can take some notes, because I have a few little things to point out before we even jump in. The main thing is just the fact that there's two parts to this. There's the gavotte and then there's the musette. And it's not really outlined, but you can see that there's a key change. And so the first thing that I'm going to have you just circle is the fact that at the beginning we have two sharps, and that takes us about halfway through the page, and then we switch to two naturals and a flat. So basically we just switch to one flat and everything is natural. So there's a key change there, and that kind of delineates the two dances, a musette and a gavotte. They're both little dances. So, and you can think of them as like beautiful courtly dances too. So you can just kind of imagine the sweet little movements that might kind of correspond with the music. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the fact that we're going to look at the section with two sharps today. And next lesson, we'll switch over and we'll look at the section with the flat. So we're going to, I guess, just look at the gavotte today. So next thing that we're going to circle is some of the directions that are on the page. So at the very beginning, it says P, grazia. So piano, gracefully. So softly and gracefully. Let's underline that, and we could even try and play this with less bow and maybe closer to the fingerboard. We definitely also want to be in the lower part of the bow, so you could write FB for fingerboard and you could write LH, lower half, for the bow. And that's going to kind of take us for the first two lines until we eventually get to that forte in the middle of the second line. My voice sounds so croaky today. Hold on a moment. It's probably gonna still be croaky. I'm sorry. It's just that kind of day, you know, with the smoke and the fires and everything that are going on in the world. So the next thing, let's look at line 3. Line 3, we have some lines over those quarter notes. And we've seen those before in this series and also in the very easy etudes by Elgar that we've gone through. The line is just the opposite of the dot. So at the very beginning, we've got dots over all those notes, and we're going to be playing them more off when we see a dot. So we're going to be kind of doing this kind of brushish or spiccato-ish stroke. Here's the beginning with the dot. Versus line 3, when we have the line, it's going to be on the string and a smooth connected sound. So let's write that above line 3, smooth connected sound. And you could also write the opposite on that first measure too, since we talked about the dot. So here's line 3. There's also a little accent hither and thither, which I've there's one in the second line, there's one in the third line. That's the thing that looks like this. It's a little greater than sign. And to do an accent, do you remember? You might remember. We're going to be using the first finger to apply a little bit of weight to the stick. You can see my finger here. And I'm going to just do that and then pull the bow. And it gives me a little bite. There's also a trill Oh, I'm kind of going back and forth between line 2 and line 3. I'm sorry. But in line 2, let's look at the end of line 2. There's TR above one of those notes there at the end. TR, you also might remember, is short for trill. So we're going to take that note that's there and we're going to play the note. And we're going to just flick very quickly to the note above in the key signature. So the note above B in the key signature is a C sharp, not a C natural. So we're going to go to the C sharp there. All right, let's see if there's anything else. There's one other thing I want to point out. Let's look at line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, line 6. And at kind of the middle of that line, there's the repeat before we change key signatures and go into the musette. There's a little word called fine. Let's underline that, and that's going to be where we actually end up ending, because if you look at the end of the entire piece, look at the very last measure of the entire piece, you'll see at the bottom it says DC al fine, which is short for da capo, back to the beginning, and to the fine. So when you would perform this, you would play through the whole thing with all the repeats and everything, and then you're going to go back to the top and you're going to play through all the repeats and everything until you get to the fine. So it's really long. You know, it's perfect for those balls that we all go to now, you know. So I think the last thing I'm going to have us put is just a little tempo to aim for. So it says tempo di gavotte, and so we want to kind of think of like a speed for a dance. It's in 4/4. Dun dun da dun 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 da 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 da. Maybe it could go faster. Da 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 da. So we could kind of explore a few different tempos. I'll give you the slowest tempo that you might want to aim for. Dun dun da 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 da. And to find that, I'm going to just use this trusty little, there you are, this trusty little tap function. So, dun dun da 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 da. You can see the number over here is kind of changing. So the average is kind of around 70-ish. I'm going to put it at 72. So you could write at the top of the page, quarter note equals 72 dash, and let's find the highest speed we might want to aim for. So once again, I'm going to go back to this here. So it's kind of maybe around 96. So maybe we aim for quarter note equals 72-96. That way you have a little range of tempos to kind of aim for. Okay, so let's finally jump into this song. I think I've rambled enough. I wonder how many of you actually listen to these on like 1.5 speeds or 2 speeds. I'm just curious. If you do, let me know. Because I just tried that for the first time doing yoga today, and it just like really sped up the process. It was awesome. So let's go ahead and just play through it. I'm going to play through the entire song, not the musette, but just the section with the sharp so that we can hear it. And I'll do it without the repeats. Okay, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. The end. It's like so princessy. I don't know. I just really love it. So I don't think I did the very best job of bringing out the dynamics. So let's attend to those as well. So let's start with the first section. Those are the first 2 lines. And before we begin, I always like to kind of get our hand patterns. That way we have a little roadmap of where the fingers go. So let's get that first. We're in 4, I'm sorry, we are in 4/4, but that's not the hand pattern. We're in 2 sharps. which if you remember the acronym Father Charlie goes down and eats breakfast, that will help you to remember the order of the sharps. So we have Father Charlie today. And extra brownie point if you remember how to find the major key. Do you remember what we do to find the major key? We take a half step higher than the last sharp. So if we have Father Charlie, what's a half step higher than C sharp? It's D. So D major. Extra brownie point if you remember how to find the minor scale that's associated with this key. Do you remember? It has to do with the 6th scale degree of the major. We have to count up to the 6th scale degree of the major, and that is the note plus minor. So let's start on D, and we'll count up. So D, E, F sharp, G, A, B minor. So B minor also shares this key signature. All you would do is just start on a B and end on a B and just plug in the hand patterns, and that will give you a B minor scale. Or if you want to start on a D and end on a D and plug in the hand patterns, that will give you a D major scale. All right, so maybe let me know if you think it's in major or minor as we kind of play through it. So let's get our hand patterns finally. We're going to start on the G string. So you have G, a whole step to A, a whole step to B, a whole step to C sharp. If you use your 4th finger, it's right there next to your 3rd finger. So I like to call this one the extended 3rd, because it's extended 3rd hand pattern. And then on the D string, we have D, E, F sharp, G, A. And since this is our first hand pattern that we typically learn, I like to call this one the basic hand pattern. And we have the same hand pattern on the A string, A, B, C sharp, D, E. And on the E string, we have E, F sharp, G, A, B. So we have 3 hand patterns. Let's review. Extended 3rd, basic, basic, and low 2. All right, just a little reminder, when you change strings, do you see how my elbow is helping? So I'm not over here and then reaching. I'm gonna just swing over if I need to swing over. Okay, let's start from the beginning. We're gonna play the first 2 lines, and let's see if we can play with a very little bow and be closer to the fingerboard. Okay, let's see if we can do those dots. Ready? I'm gonna count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. How did you do? Oh, that was tricky, isn't it? Let's try it again. So I'll do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Okay, you know where I really struggle is on the 2nd line, right here, because it would be easier if it was a down bow, but it's nice that it's an up bow because it keeps you here for the next part. If it was a down bow, you'd end up in the wrong part of the bow to do those. So it is nice that it's an up bow. So anyway, I think that's maybe one of the awkward places. So if you're struggling there, join the club. Let's look at the 2nd half. So we're going to be looking at line 3, and we're going to take it all the way to the fine. And we're going to start out with lots of bow for the forte, and we're on the string for these line, the détaché, the line. Okay, but sometimes there's a dot, and sometimes there's a accent. So watch out. There's also a piano coming up. And the easiest way to do piano, it's really hard to play piano, by the way, because you have to do less. And it's hard to control that. It takes control. It's always easy to just play whatever's comfortable, but just try to change your contact point and just use less bow. Okay, and less weight. So here we go. I'll count the same. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and we'll come in on 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Less. Magical. So I think we'll call it a day with that. I will let you toil away with that this week, and I'll see you next week for the second half. Also a reminder, I say this every week, that this also is meant to be played with piano music. So go befriend a pianist and have some fun playing along with a musical friend. I also usually forget to say this, but I would love to see you at one of our virtual studio circles every month. And I'm especially speaking to those of you on Patreon, because it's only available via Patreon, or if you're in the studio. But you can always easily join Patreon. Please join. You're meant to be there. It's there for you to join if you want to join it. Every month we do a virtual studio circle on Zoom. And it's just a time for us to get together as a little tiny musical bubble with a cup of tea and to just listen to those people that want to play what they've been working on. It's not ever perfect. Nobody ever feels happy with how they play, but it's just about playing and about having a little musical time together, just having a little fun. And it's the challenge that at the end of the month, the last Friday of the month, in the evening, you can actually practice performing or just sharing what you've been playing this month. So I would love to see you there. I would also love to see you at any of our guest artist classes. We will probably be having for those of you on Patreon, of course, because on YouTube you're watching this a little bit later, but you can always rewatch the guest artist classes that we have. But the next one coming up is going to be with Sasha Kitzlitzen, and he is an amazing violinist, violist, performer. He's played in Carnegie Hall many times, and he's got a great Instagram. I'll try and link that below as well for you. And he's going to come and talk to us about his electric instruments and just the life of a gigging musician, what it's like to be out in the world and what he's kind of working on. He has all these interesting things that he does. So that will be fun. Probably the following month we'll have another music history class, or maybe a Qigong class. I'm kind of feeling like Qigong again. That was awesome. Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for being here, and I hope that the setup is better this time. It's a work in progress, so I appreciate your patience with me as I kind of just figure it out as I go. And I will see you all very soon. Take care. Bye, you guys.